March is upon us, therefore it is officially March of the Mammoths. I'm Quinn Moon, I write queer fairy tales, and this is my first March of the Mammoths, and I think it might be the first time I read a book over 1,000 pages? Perhaps? I can't remember. I might have at some point, but this is the first book at this level of 1,000 pages, since this isn't just like normal fiction, it's literary fiction, it's historical, one of the densest books that we can study, so I'm extremely excited for my reading list for March. I was debating which order to start this in, but there's no point in being coy about it. I'm obviously reading The Tale of Genji. This is going to be the focus for the month. This is what I've spent February prepping for, and I'm really excited. I should be finishing prepping the book later this week. I have some materials to bind the cover to make it a little firmer. I have some pages that I'm actually going to be adding in there. And I have my supplemental, like normal notes. Then I'm creating a sort of like database for other notes, since this whole essay reading has been, one, very fruitful, two, I got a lot to say. And I now have to document some stuff, and I'm not going to do it like manually. Like the notes I take on here are going to be just like my conversation with the text, but notes that I want to use, reference, I want to write a few essays, I will need them to be more accessible. So I have my regular chapter by chapter notes that I will be taking, and then I have my database. I'm going to start I'm starting to use Notion, and I'm going to want to do something specific. So I actually have to set up a Notion page for the women of the Tale of Genji, because this is a romance. There are a lot of women that Genji comes into contact with, and I want to track their relationship. Nobody really has a happy ending in Genji, just the course of their life. And it would be best for me to have it in a database to manipulate. So I'm going to end up using Notion for that. But I did add little pages at the end of each section, since there are 3 big sections of the Tale of Genji, just extra space for note taking. This is the focus for March. My book club is also reading Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it just yet. I just started it. I'm really excited for this opportunity, and I'm excited because of the group of people that we have and the level of discussion that we engage in. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's been kind of on my radar, but I couldn't prioritize it in my extensive backlog. So I'm really glad that my book club prompted me to read this book. So that's another book that I'll be reading in February. I've kind of taken a step back from the other book club I was a part of, mostly because I have books, most of the books I read have a purpose. And I realized that I felt like my reading was lacking books in translation, and I wanted to focus on that. So I've decided to, instead of reading for my book club, I want to read a new book in translation every month. This month, I will be finishing Welcome to the Hyunam-Dong Bookshop. I started this back in January, and I am loving it. Apparently, this is healing fiction. Stop. What a lovely, lovely notion. And I'm loving this book. I'm halfway through. I had to stop it because I read We Do Not Part by Hong Kong. Oh, man, that was a book. And then I started researching for February. Then I went out of town, and everything kind of went downhill from there. But this book has been so lovely, and I've decided that I want to try to get a book in translation under healing fiction. So I already have the book picked out for April, and I am way too excited about it. But this is a very cozy, lovely little book. I want to write about the larger message in this book. It's not just about, this Yoonja going to open her bookstore after she burns out. There is something so much more happening here, and every single character is an example of it. So I'm really excited, but I'll be finishing it this month. I started this gem of a book on my flight, and it was just absolutely spectacular. And I'll be finishing it hopefully in the next week or two, because I I need to finish this book and I'm super excited to talk about it. Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. This is the loveliest little retelling with the most relatable little toadling of a character. I love this book. I enjoyed every moment of it, just as I've expected. I'm halfway through, and the only reason that I haven't finished it is because I've been trying to catch up on all of these essays for the Tale of Genji, which I'm very happy about. This is a priority for February, and I'm so excited. I think I'm going to use this as like a palate cleanser to just wrap up. Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to talk about it. It's a lovely book. If you haven't picked it up, please do so. It is just wonderful. I will also be reading Greek Lessons by Hong Kong. This was kind of a wild card simply because I had placed the book on hold at my library, the audiobook, because I've learned my lesson. I need the audiobook when I'm reading Hong Kong so that I can continue, because otherwise it gets too heavy if I'm going it alone. So I placed the audiobook on hold. I had to wait almost 2 months. And I'm like, well, when I get the audiobook, I will read it. It's ready. It's a 5-hour audiobook, so I'm going to be listening to it sometime in the next 2 weeks, since there are 13 people waiting. Good for her. Good for her. She's an amazing author. So I'm going to be reading this one with the audiobook, and I want to annotate it, but I don't know what discussions I'm going to have with this book, and I'm kind of scared to find out. I'm kind of scared to know the questions that I'll be asking. I'm just nervous, but it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be amazing. It's probably going to be really heart-wrenching. I'm really excited. This one was a wild card. I didn't know when to expect it, but I'll be reading Greek Lessons by Hong Kong. I didn't realize that this was the 75th anniversary of the Cinderella Disney movie. So for my fairy tale for the month, I'll be reading Cinderella. According to my Norton Critical Edition of my fairy tale books, the Cinderella story falls under the revenge and reward of neglected daughters. There's a whole little section for her. And there are 4 versions of it that I'll be reading, and I'll be like comparing side by side. So there's the Cat Cinderella, Cinderella or the Glass Slipper, Finette Cindron, I butchered that, I'm sorry, and Cinderella. So I'll be reading that little section, and then I'll be doing like picture book companion walkthroughs as well, because it's really interesting to see the picture book adaptations, and there are so many. I think there are like 150 at my library. I'm checking them out in batches because I'm not gonna be checking out like 100 books in my library. Even they'll be like, yo, slow down, Quinn. The month of March is going to be the month that I read Cinderella, and I'm actually really excited because now that I know that this book is chunked up into sections, I can't wait to see the differences in all 4 of them. That's actually it. March doesn't have as many books, but it has quite a bit of volume. Since the Tale of Genji is going to be 1,100 pages, I was planning to already write 3 essays based on the text. However, because of another essay that I read, I'm now writing a series of essays, and I'm really excited to trial them. The essay is going to focus on the women, and I'm starting with Murasaki and her identity, her retention of her sense of self, and what that means in the grander Genji space, because Murasaki is Genji's ideal. Murasaki is the bride that Genji himself chose. I don't believe that her headstrong character, I don't believe that her spoiled personality, her fancies and her whims are seen as negative by Genji. I think that they're seen as a part of her truth in a way that Genji typically doesn't see anybody else. And I think that because of the way he brought her up, it's not exactly a problem. And if we maintain that this book is discourse and commentary on more spiritual themes, and there is a higher message to pursue in this story about this playboy prince, then I need to read the text to understand what Murasaki is to Genji. Because I don't think it's as simple as, you know, he's one of his harem, that she is tedious to him. I don't think that's the case. And I'm also curious about the nuances of Genji. It's going to be a slow, but very, I'm not even going to say thorough, because I'm going to miss so much, but I'm going to be really enjoying this book. Also, this is my first March of the Mammoths. I am so glad I chose The Tale of Genji because it was written by a woman. I'm glad that I chose the oldest novel in history. I'm glad that I didn't choose, I would say, like a more modern book with, you know, a traditional plot. So that is what I'll be reading in March. Like I said, no surprises. Super excited. What are you reading for March of the Mammoths? Are you doing March of the Mammoths? How many books are you reading for March of the Mammoths? Because I know there are a lot of people that have like 5 or 6 books lined up. I just can't read that fast. I can't process that fast. And I want to retain. I want to ask questions. There's so many questions that I want to ask. So super excited. I'm really excited also with the modifications. Complete side note. The modifications that I'm making to the Tale of Genji make this probably one of the most functional Norton Critical editions that I've ever had. The Tale of Genji is actually a book that I'm just going to read for March of the Mammoths. This is just a regular old book. I'm going to really use the Epic of Gilgamesh. If this format works, I'm going to do this for the Epic of Gilgamesh, and I might do it for my Iliad book, because those are books that are going to turn into like manuals and handbooks. So I'm really glad I trialed this. We'll see how it goes. I'm also going to see how my note-taking goes. So this is going to be a huge month. Not only is my first March of the Mammoth, not only is this a fantastic book to read, this might be the template for my research moving forward. And that's kind of a big deal to me. That's it for this video. Let me know what you're reading in the month of March. Have you read anything that I've read? Have you read The Tale of Genji? If so, hit me up at the end of the month, because I want to talk about it, and I don't know if anybody in my space has the capacity to talk about it the way that I want to talk about it, which is why I have like 5 45-minute video essays. Neither here nor there though. So that's it for this video. Catch you guys next time. Bye!